Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2020 Subaru Forester, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT Class 2 trailer hitch receiver. In my opinion, this hitch is going to be a great choice for you if you plan on only using 1¼ accessories, or especially if you already have them. And since it is more of a low profile design, it is going to be less visible and in my opinion look pretty good on the back of the Subaru. So this is going to be a Class 2 hitch. So it's going to have that 1¼ by 1¼ receiver tube opening and a reinforced collar for some extra strength. It's going to have the standard 1/2-inch size pinhole. Now pin and clip does not come included, but if you need one you can find it here at eTrailer. The safety chain openings are going to be a plate style and they're actually pretty big, so you shouldn't have any problem using just about any size hook that you might have. And since they do sit back pretty far, you're not going to have to worry about any interference with your pin and clip. For being an 1¼ hitch, it's actually going to give us some pretty good weight ratings. As far as the maximum gross tongue weight rating goes, it's going to be 350 pounds. So that's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. So that's perfect for those 1 to 3 bike racks. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, it's going to be 3,500 pounds. So that's going to be the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. So that's the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. Now I do always like to recommend to check with your Subaru's owner's manual to make sure your car can pull that much weight. Now I'm going to give you a couple of measurements, and you're going to use these to help figure out which hitch mounted accessories to get. From the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be about 15 inches. And you're going to use that to help figure out whether you need to get a ball mount with either a drop or a rise. From the center of the hitch pinhole to the edge of our rear bumper, that's going to be about 5 inches. And you're going to use that to help figure out if any folding accessories that you might have can be stored in the upright position without contacting the bumper. So overall, pretty good looking hitch. It's going to allow you to throw some accessories on the back of your Subaru. That way you can enjoy your Forester. Now as far as the installation goes, it is a little bit involved, but it's pretty straightforward and shouldn't take you all that much time to do. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our install, we're going to be working underneath the back of our Subaru. We're first going to need to lower our exhaust to give us some more room to work. But what I like to do, since there won't be nothing supporting it, is to take a strap, just kind of run it from side to side, and that'll just kind of help hold it up a little bit. So we're going to have a total of 3 rubber exhaust hangers that we need to take off. We're going to have 2 here on our muffler. One will be on this side. To get these off, you spray them down with some soapy water or some penetrating oil. Makes it a lot easier. Then we can just grab a pry bar or even a big screwdriver and work that hanger off. The other one is just going to be on this side of the muffler. Use that same technique to get it removed. And then the last one is just going to be just in front of our rear axle. With the muffler dropped down a little bit, we can now gain access to our heat shield. So we're going to take that off. We're going to have 4 bolts holding it in, just like these. So we'll use a 10mm socket to take those out. We'll just snake our heat shield out for now. Now if we move over to our driver's side, we're going to have this underbody panel that we need to take off. However, I found with these, there's going to be a couple of fasteners on this side of it, just behind our rear wheel, and those are easier to take off first. So here are the 2 fasteners that we need to take out. It's just a push pin fastener, so you can use a flat-headed screwdriver. Now pry underneath the head of it and kind of twist it. And the head of it will release, and then you can just grab it and pull it completely out. And we're just going to do the same thing with this one. Now on the bottom edge of this panel, there's going to be another 3 push pin fasteners. These are a little bit different, but work the same. Again, you'll just pry underneath the head of them and pop them out. Then if we move up to our frame rail, there's going to be two 10mm bolts. I'm able to take this out now. Once we have it out, we can just set it to the side. So I tried to pull that panel down and something was hanging me up. And I realized I actually missed one of these fasteners here in our wheel well. There's actually a total of 3, so we should be able to pop this one out, and then that underbody panel should come right out. Now if you look at our frame rail, there's going to be 3 plugs, so we can go ahead and pop those out. Just use a flathead screwdriver. Pry underneath them. And I want to mention from this point on, anything that we do to this frame rail, we're going to repeat over on the other side. We're also going to have another plug closer to the front of our Subaru, and we're actually going to pop that one out as well. And that's going to give us a larger hole to work with. And we're going to use this as an access hole. So our hardware that we're going to use to secure the hitch is actually going to be in the frame rail. And so this hole here we're going to use as an access hole, but if we take our spacer block and our carriage bolt, it's actually just a little too big to fit through. So what we're going to need to do is enlarge it, and I'm going to use a step bit. You could use a grinder or even a hand file. You don't have to take a ton of material out, just enough for that hardware to squeeze through there. So with the hole enlarged, big enough for our hardware to easily slide through it, what we're going to do is get it in there by using the fish wire technique. The attachment points that we're going to use to hold our hitch up will be all 3 of these holes. And so we want to fish wire the one furthest first. So we're going to start with this hole, take the coiled end, feed it through, and we want that coiled end to drop out of our attachment, or I'm sorry, our access hole here. Sometimes it's easier if you kind of reach up there with your finger and help guide it out. Straighten that out a little bit. So what we're going to do is take our spacer block, slide that over the coiled end, as well as our carriage bolt. It's actually going to thread onto that fish wire. Kind of feed that hardware into the frame rail. I like to do it kind of one by one. We can pull the other end of that fish wire and get it to drop down. So I'm going to use that same technique to do this hole next, followed by this one, and that'll get all of our hardware ready. Once we have our hardware in, since we did create some bare metal here in our access hole, what I like to do is just take some spray paint and shoot a coat on it just to help keep it protected from any rust. Now we can get our heat shield ready to put back up. And if you look at the heat shield, there's going to be some letters stamped into it. Well, where those letters are, there's also a little dimple. And we're going to use that dimple as a guide to actually drill out a hole. That way our hardware can pass through it. So we can grab our heat shield, and we're going to take the fish wires that are attached to our hardware and run them through the corresponding holes that we created in the heat shield. And you can kind of work it back into place. will sit up there just like that. Now we can re-secure it with all of the factory hardware, but we're going to leave this bolt out closest to the back of our Subaru. I'll get all three of them started, and I can come back with my 10mm and tighten down. Now with an extra set of hands, we can lift our hitch into position. So you're going to want to take the fish wires and run them through the corresponding holes in the hitch. You can gradually raise it up. Driver's side, you want to be sure to go over the exhaust. Get it lined up. Get all of our hardware to drop through. We can remove the pull wire. We're going to take a flange nut, get it started. You want to make sure to get at least one on each side, hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself while we work on securing the rest of the flange nuts. With all of our hardware now in place and hand tight, we can use a 3/4 inch socket to snug it all down. Now we can use a torque wrench and tighten everything down to the amount specified in the instructions. Now we're able to lift our exhaust back up and rehang it the opposite way that we lowered it. Again, it helps to get the hangers wet a little bit, and you can usually just slide them right on with your hands. Once it is supporting itself, we can remove our strap. Now we can grab our underbody panel and get that reinstalled. It's going to get secured with all the same fasteners with the exception of one. Now since our hitch is blocking this hole, we're not going to be using that. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Class 2 trailer hitch receiver on our 2020 Subaru Forester.